We recently had the 440 running for the first time in probably about 17, 18 years on this car. And ran it for about 5 minutes. Started to develop a couple of minor issues with the tune-up and leaks in the valve cover. And also this exhaust leak. You can see right here that the manifold was leaking, and it got so hot that it burned the paint on the valve cover. So the problem with that ended up being, so if we take a look at the manifold right here, put a light on it. You can see right there on the surface, see that little pit, what's left of what was a really deep pit. I'm gonna say 30 thousandths deep. It had pitting all the way along here, and then this port right here had pitting all the way along that port too. This wasn't pitted too bad, but if you would have put a level on it going that way between all the ports, you'd visibly see the bubble in the level was in different locations, indicating that the manifold was warped. So it would have been leaking on this cylinder out the top to burn the paint. Anyway, so we already got done machining this thing. Tried to film it on the phone, but had some technical issues. So I was able to do a short. If you go to the YouTube shorts, we did a short 1 minute video using that bit to machine the manifold. So I wanted to kind of go over what it took to do this job. First of all, let's get the straight edge here. I'm not sponsored by these guys, just a tool that's in the toolbox. So, okay, if you look at it, see that turned out pretty straight, man. I mean, I'm not seeing any gaps. Same there. Same over there. I mean, you can just hear it. That's pretty accurate. So I wanted to go over the setup on this. If anyone's looking at getting their 440 3D3 manifolds machined, the trick to it is this. They have these bosses cast into them, like right there, there, and there, right there. So at the factory, Chrysler would have put this thing in a jig, using those as a reference point, and done all the machining operations. So for example, the one that's on the mill over there, you can see the flaws that this one has with the heat riser. This manifold we just took and actually tapped it with a pipe tap and put some pipe plugs in there. I was actually going to get them welded, but the guy that I know locally that does cast iron welding didn't want to do it. Said he thought it would fail, so he just said to do that. But anyway, I wanted to go over the setup on this and what it takes to get it jigged up in the mill. You can see that riser block that we used. Get a flashlight. See that? Those are like that. And this had one down there. It had a feeler gauge in it, but the manifold actually slipped around briefly. I was able to get it back into place and do a good job on it, but it was pretty nerve-wracking for a minute because the whole manifold had slipped that way. I was able to push it back into place and retighten the clamp. But you see how it is set up under there, because that clamps it there. You can see the riser block. I actually had to use some feeler gauges to get it just right, because you're doing the level from left to right and then front to back. Very tricky. The setup took about 2 hours to do. You can see, have the feeler gauges all taken apart to get it just right. I wanted to take this off and show what it looks like underneath. Like I say, there's another YouTube short that we did with, when it was running through the mill doing the machining. So let's do this. That one seemed pretty loose. Yeah, so like I'm saying, it took me probably solid 2 hours to get it set up and jigged up just right. So if you went to a machine shop and they want to charge you 2 hours labor, it's probably not an unfair price. Let me set this down right here. You can see that cast iron finish jet hot coating looks killer. But here's how the setup looks underneath. Maybe it looks a little unorthodox, but it got it to be just right. And there's like a 5/8 plate, there's like a 1/16, here's 1/8, and here was a feeler gauge, like 21 thousandths on that side of it. Like I say, this had a feeler gauge like that. And these riser blocks, they're adjustable, stepped. So all that stuff would have gone against there and there, 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 and then had those ones across here, just like that. These are actually two different manifolds, but they're very similar. And you can see how the outlet is twisted from each other, but you wouldn't even know from looking at the top. Anyway, that's what's going on with the Super Bee. Thanks for watching.